Hi, Jillian. Rob here. Hey, sorry this took so long to get to you. Um, anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and talk through your video gait analysis, give you maybe some of the review of some of the tips we talked about, and then send you a link on it, and then hopefully you can just click on the link and be able to go through all this. I'm just going to run the video. Here you are running off into the sunrise here. One of the things we had talked about, just watching your cadence, that's how many times that your RPMs when you run, how many times your foot strikes the ground in a minute. I counted yours 3 or 4 times, and it ran somewhere between 75 and 80 RPMs on one leg. So what I recommended at the time was you bump that up to 85 and then eventually progress up to 90 RPMs. Eventually, I think that would probably be a much better cadence for you to run at. What they found in some of the running research is that the higher the cadence, the less stress it is on your knees, and especially down in those shin splints where you have so many problems. Also, thinking about your low back and those issues you're having, I would really try to work for a higher cadence that has less impact when you run. And so 85 to 90 on one foot. If you look online, there's lots of different apps that work for that kind of thing. You just look. They'll be able to. You can listen to a metronome, or they'll be able to dig into your music and find the right kind of RPMs. But what happens if we look in the side view when you run at a slower cadence is what we see is there's a little bit more up and down movement, meaning we call it vertical displacement when you're going up and down a lot, and it causes more stress in those areas we talked about. If we look at where you actually impact out here, and we talked about this before, but the point you impact, it's out in front of your center of mass, and so that puts quite a bit of stress on those areas we talked about. It's almost like you're putting on the brakes. For every force, there's an equal and opposite force, and you're trying to go that way. Whoops. And the forces are going back this way, right back at you. So I see a high incidence of that and shin splints. And so it's quite a bit of force when you do that, going all the way out in front of you. So you're a pretty strong heel striker, and there's nothing wrong with being a heel striker. But if your heel is striking out in front of you, that's where the problems are. And so most people are heel strikers, but it's striking out in front of you is the problem. So that's something to work on. The other thing we can see from this view is that relates to your low back is if we click through a few frames. Well, let's wait till you stop. There we go. You're scratching your face there. Getting your hair out of the way. Here we go. Right here is a great view. Okay, so we look at why your back hurts. This is huge. If you look at the angle of your shorts, it comes close to mimicking the angle of your pelvis when you run, and you have a really big anterior tilt. It means your pelvis tilts forward. So we call that a pelvic tilt, and that's going to put high stress on your low back. So we talked about a couple of the drills you could do. One of the main ones was leveling the pelvis. So you try to level the pelvis, and we did some of those drills against the wall where you gently tuck your pelvis under and try not to arch so much. I think that would make a really big difference. All you have to do is just lightly engage your abdominal muscles, level your pelvis, and that would take a little bit of the load off your low back when you're running. So that's one of the big things you see here. You get a lot of vertical excursion, so you're spending a lot of energy going up and down here, Jillian, where I think if we watch it in slow motion, or if we just click through it, we'd like to see that energy pushing you forward instead of up and down. Next thing I'd probably look at would be this low knee flexion angle. So if you watch it when you're trying to clear your foot, your knee, actually that's not bad, around 90 degrees. Actually looks pretty good. I take that back. This looks pretty good. Almost 95 degrees. I take that back. That looks pretty good. Anything else in this view? Hip extension angles look pretty good. We're shooting for about 20 degrees with these. A little shy of hip extension. I think as your speeds get better, that would increase. If we look from the rear view, one of the things we talk about is your hip stability when you're running. You actually look pretty good. You don't get a lot of what we call hip drop. So when you strike and then when your knees come together, we don't see a big hip drop here. So it actually looks pretty good. We did some sidestep exercises. That'll help your low back. It'll also help your hips, but pretty good angles right here as far as your hip drop goes. Keep doing those hip exercises though. The left knee looks okay, right knee looks fine. As far as all the way down at the foot, we can talk about foot motion, and if you need to work, get a different shoe. You know, the amount of pronation I'm seeing there, we could try to measure that, but that's all pretty normal. It doesn't look excessive. You're not completely sandwiching out the bottom of your foot when you run. I think shoe wear you're probably dialed in, and you can ask your parents on that one anyway. Let me pull this back out. If we look at a front view, oops. If we look at a front view here, and just watch it run in slow-mo. Again, I really like your pelvis levels here. You're not dropping a lot at your pelvis. So that's some of that plank work and core work that you've done. I think that's really paid off. If we go to the other side, watch this side. Oh, it looks pretty good. Your knee's not collapsing in. Foot's not collapsing excessively. Look at the foot, knee, ankle. The hip looks pretty good on that side too. Again, not seeing a lot of excessive collapsing in of the knee. So I think overall, things I would really focus on would be running with a little higher cadence. Start with around 80 and then build 80 to 85 and then build from there. Tuck that pelvis under a little bit to try to get a level pelvis. I think if you increase your cadence, you're going to land a little bit more flat-footed, maybe on the ball of your foot. I wouldn't even worry about that. I would more worry about the cadence versus where your foot lands. But I do think it would take some of the load off your shins and definitely off your low back. Let me know if you have any questions. Hopefully this helps. I'll copy this down and shoot you off a link. And keep on running. Talk to you later.